I am. All right. New video. Uh, this is a subject that I perhaps enter with a slight amount of caution because throughout history there's a lot of misuse of certain information, we'll say. Just like the same thing that you could take a gun and you could, you know, use it to defend yourself, or you could use it to do something malicious. So I'm going to try to keep this general and kind of maybe, I guess the purpose of it is more of like as inspirational as more opposed to technical, because I just feel like um, when you reach a certain place in your development and your evolution and your awakening, stuff like this just is natural and it just kind of comes to you, I suppose. It's more of like an intuitive knowingness, more of like a direct download or connection. But for those who maybe are, you know, it's very easy to kind of lose yourself in the lullaby that's constantly playing in the world of just, hey, everybody's doing this, so just, it's okay. Just be like everybody else. Just be like everybody else. Just be like everybody else. So, however, when you get to a place where you kind of stop being like everybody else, it's like it's almost like you kind of get singled out in a sense, and you don't just get necessarily singled out in the sense of, you know, in the physical world where maybe like your friends or your family start to look at you like, oh, yeah, you're talking about some crazy stuff, like like I don't know what happened, and it's, you know, I guess seeing and feeling is believing, you know. It's simply based on experience, and once you have you know, some type of awakening experience, or you get called to some, you know, different life path, you know, there's nothing really that could sway you at that point, and you need that. Like, that's like your root, your foundation to the next series of challenges that you'll face as you ascend the ladder, or you ascend your spine, or you start to cycle your energy through different worlds and different chakras within your body. You start to travel. As you travel inside your body, you might start traveling in the physical world. It's all a reflection of each other. But the name of this video, I think, is going to be like awakening and self-defense. um, One could make the argument that, you know, obviously everything is yourself, so what are you defending yourself against? But that, and that's true, and a lot of the masters and a lot of, like, you know, like the Buddhists and, you know, a lot of different spiritual practices, especially that are very, just for lack of better terms, very right hand path, that's a very feminine path. It's a very passive path. It's a path that is more about flowing as opposed to uh, figuring things out. It's more of a path of being, as opposed to the left hand path is more about becoming. It's more about uh, improving, whereas the extreme right hand path recognizes the truth of that you're already everything, so what's the point of doing anything? That's kind of the idea. Whereas the extreme left hand path is like, it kind of sees that as kind of more like fanciful, like hooey, I guess, maybe, you know. Both paths are valid, but I think what you'll find is that if you don't, like, you see some of like the pictures of like when Kundalini is rising, you see the snakes going up the spine. They don't just, you know, like, they will tell you go the middle way, and that's very good, but the middle way is no vibration. It is, in a sense, non-existence. So you, in a sense, cease to exist because you're not actually moving. My suggestion, I suppose, is that do both simultaneously. And what you'll find is that the more still you can make your core, the more movement or chaos or possibilities you can manage as a creator, or as a child in development. You start to learn more things. You start to grow and mature, and yeah, you'll definitely face. I'm kind of getting a little away from the video, but I'll get there. This might be a longer video, maybe we'll see. But I think it is a sort of an important topic and something that people may be interested in. You'll meet reflections of yourself in the external world and in the internal world, but for sure in the external world, because it seems that people tend to sort of have a lack of confidence in themselves to the point where they need to see it in the external world so that they can validate, what they feel. But again, with maturity comes you can kind of override that, to where you feel something, you know it, and nothing can really sway you from that because it is your own personal experience. Yeah, so as you raise your frequency, you meet your challenges. And this is the thing. These so-called demons, they're traditionally called demons, or, basically, really what a demon is a daemon is just a spirit. It can be positive or negative, but what it is, by definition, is fragmented. It is not whole. It is something that has an agenda. It has something, it has an intention, it has something it wants to accomplish. And if something has an intention, it is in fact, with the code in the words, intention. So it is tense. It is in a process of becoming tense and releasing the tension, becoming tense and releasing the tension. You go through this every day. Just for example, you get hungry, you're tense. You get some food, then you're not, then you release the tense. Another example, you get really tired, you're tense, you just want to fall asleep. You go to sleep, you wake up, you feel better. The soul doesn't operate that way. The soul is more like the sun, where it's just always is the same. It just is always shining. It never sleeps. You sleep because you go through phases, and but that you see the difference. So, and it's not a bad thing. It's like some of this is kind of difficult to explain because of the words. It's like it's like in English you have like the same word that means like 5 different things. So I'll say left hand or right hand or positive or negative, but really they're encompassed within each of them. So I'm gonna try to I guess make it simple, but okay, let's just get right into this. Okay, I happen to be wearing this purple shirt just because it's funny because I look through my videos and I seem to wear a lot of gray shirts, and if you look at like the absolute colors of black and white, you put them together, you get gray. If you take the absolute colors of blue and red, you put them together, you get purple. And that's just something, it's symbolic in a sense. And it's the purple color has to do with the third eye, and that's the reason why I think purple is an important vibration to express here, because if you get into certain fields, or you gain certain abilities, let's say, like you become adept, like you got these black magicians, you got the white magicians, and you could become like a black magician or whatever, and get into the whole like Harry Potter type thing, and start to get into spells and all this stuff. And it's not to say it's not real. It's not to say that it doesn't work. There is a science to it. There is the physical plane and the astral plane are parallel to each other. And basically what magic does is it basically fuses the two planes together. You basically align yourself in the physical to what's going on in the astral plane, and then there's like a portal or a doorway that opens, and then the forces can express each other between the worlds. Most people have no idea about the spiritual world, and what allows you to commune with that place is the third eye. It is the place where things come together and that you can see what's really going on. It's not always, sometimes it is, it's not always a physical phenomenon. It's not always something that you physically see, some type of entity or whatever. It can be that way, but it's not always. Sometimes it's a feeling, it's a knowingness, it's an intuition that allows you to navigate this is not, I wouldn't say that, even though it seems like as above, so below, there's a lot of battle and a lot of war and a lot of conflict in the world. And if you look out in the cosmos, you may see the same thing. You may see these huge celestial bodies coming into conflict, and it's very violent and chaotic, and it is what it is. But if you look at it from a higher point of view and you get rid of the physical, and I don't say get rid of it, but if you see it from a higher point of view, what you will see is that everything is light. So when things are dense, when you're dense, you're just very rigid. You just think you know something. So when what you think you know comes in contact with what something else thinks they know, like red comes in contact with blue, red is red, that's the best. Blue is blue, blue's the best. And then they come together, or like Christianity and Islam. Christianity's the best, and Islam comes and Islam's the best. And since they can't, it's an insecurity in a sense, because they're actually missing something. That's why they have to clash, because they need each other to exist. It's the same thing. It's like the male and the female, right? It's like they are attracted to each other. They have their differences, but they're attracted to each other no matter how you want to put it. They need each other, positive and negative. They're opposites to each other, and therefore they're equal. So when you meld them together, you get what is whole. And that's the idea here. And this whole awakening and self-defense type knowledge, I guess, is more about expressing stories, and just because I don't really want to get into the technical stuff about it, because I don't really feel like that's my place. But I just want to kind of give an overview of, maybe what you're getting yourself into if you're very serious about your awakening, and because it's really not a game. It is a game, but it's not a game. If you take the complete right-hand path, it might seem like a game to you, because basically what you're doing is you're becoming very passive. So basically, if you can resist the urge to take part in things, or to judge things, or to say that you want it to be different, and you, in a sense, forsake your power, that's actually what you're doing. You are actually basically just, your power is in having no power. It's like, that's what it is. Like, if you are able to resist the urge to move all day, like you just go sit in a cave all day and whatever, then you're, in a sense, not susceptible to certain influences or forces that would seek to manipulate you. And that's the real war, is the war for souls. What a soul is a potential universe. It is a seed. It is something that will grow into a whole cosmos itself. It may start as a human. It may start as a single-celled organism, and then, because time is relative, I don't really want to get into all that because I might lose some people, but you evolve and you grow. So as a human, you're a human right now. If you listen to the video, you're a human right now. So but you're not just that. You are a seed. You have the ability to expand into a planet, into a star, into a galaxy, into a universe. But the only way that you can do that is to know where the center is, because if you don't know where the center is, then you don't know symmetry, and if you don't know symmetry, you can't build anything, because everything that you build will fall. And I'll just leave it at that. So with the color purple, in a sense, is symbolic, and I don't really kind of get into the colors and everything, but just because I just thought this might be an interesting way to explain it. It is the place where you become captain. And the reason why you're captain is because you can see, you have vision. Generally, leaders, the reason that they're leaders aren't necessarily because they have the greatest ability to go build the physical pyramid, or they don't have necessarily, that might take like 1,000 people or whatever, and it's not so, but they might have the vision, you know what I'm saying? Like they can see the result of things. So they can project themselves into the future, in a sense, and see how things would be. If we did this, this, and this would be the result. And that's I guess, the benefit of a leadership quality. But I will say that, just like you see in Star Wars, I don't, okay, never mind. You could say a star, I'll just say it. A star is like solar, right? Is soul, right? So soul is one. So Star Wars is the One Wars or Soul Wars. It's all the same thing. So you see in the movies, most of the bad guys, or most of the Sith, most of the left-hand path have all red swords. All the right hand path people usually have blue swords. Like Mace Windu got a purple sword, whatever, and Yoda got a green sword, whatever. But most of them got red swords as the left hand path. And the blue hand path is the, or not the blue hand, the right hand path is the blue. And then that's symbolic of the throat chakra, and the throat chakra is right here. So it's the last place before you get into a whole new world, because this is a whole nother globe. This is a whole nother earth. This is a whole nother planet right here. So this actually has chakras in it right here. It's worlds within worlds. So the command center then here is, so the command center is right above all the senses. And I'm kind of getting away from where I was going to go in this video, but I guess it's just wherever it's going. This is right here where the third eye is all the senses are below it, right? And then the crown chakra is the first world that is outside of the physical body. And this is like your connection with God, or your connection with the Creator, your connection with yourself, your connection with yourself in the future, or your connection with your mother and your father, your connection with the divine feminine and the divine masculine. You as their child, they want nothing for you, or they want nothing more than for you to grow and develop and become who you are. And not everybody's necessarily the same. There's different paths you can take. We all came from the same place. We're all going to the same place. So in that, we all are brothers and sisters. But at the same time, we are in a cosmic play, a cosmic drama. And so you might, pretend, you playing cops and robbers. Okay, I'll be the cop this time. You be the robber this time. And it's kind of like that, but on a cosmic scale. It's actually really fun and very interesting and very beautiful. But if you get too serious about it, or you don't get too, it's like you can be too right hand and be not serious enough, or you could be too left hand and be too serious, right? So the balance is in the middle then. Okay, so I'm already 17 minutes into this video. So here we go. Okay. As you begin to increase your vibration, or you raise the energetic potential in your body, and because there's so much information out on the internet and different places about how to raise your vibration, how to raise your frequency, very simple. Stop eating animals, especially it's like my mind wants to just go and it's like I see this thing and I just want to go talk about it, and it's right there, and it's like, but I know it's gonna take me 10 minutes, so I gotta keep this is another thing about okay, that's a whole nother metaphor right there, but let's just try to stay focused. There's lots of things on the internet about how you can raise your frequency, so I won't go into that. But once you raise your frequency, then what? Because it's not just all good. It's not just all flowers and sunshine and just whatever. It can be, if that's your path, but there you will be ignorant, because ignorant is bliss. So you will be incomplete by definition. Where there is light, there will be darkness. If you see only light, it's because you are being shielded from the darkness by something that is higher than you. And it could be your mother, it could be your father. Just like a child, they might try to shelter the child and only show them good things for a period of time. But if that child that was, sheltered in all positivity and love and light and, we're all whatever, and then you take that child and you put him in the real cold world, it might not survive. So you got to ask yourself if that's really, what's best in the grand scheme. So everything is balanced. So there will be a good and there will be a bad. There will be a light and there will be a dark. The idea is to find the place, put the puzzle together, and put everything in its proper place, and everything will just work like a well-oiled machine. And that's how you can generate the current. That's how you can build things. That's how you can create what you want to create. The force that's involved here is traditionally called Kundalini. Kundalini is it's very raw, okay? It's very primal. It is very limitless. There's nothing it can't do. However, if you try to awaken Kundalini in a body that is very rigid and inflexible, you have no mastery over your mind. It's like something like someone who takes like a psychedelic or something and they have like a bad trip or something. It's because this Kundalini force is being stimulated, and so they're being projected into frequencies that they're not familiar with, and they might come back and never be the same. It might be good, it might not be good. It just depends, because there's other forces at work here. There is checks and balances to things, so things aren't very chaotic, especially in this world. Believe it or not, things have very close to the utmost order in this place. It might seem chaotic, but that's just because it's giving you an opportunity to take responsibility. But overall, this place is very ordered. So you don't really have to be responsible for much, which is especially in first world countries and things. Okay, 20 minutes in. Um, as you continue to expand, your aura or your field, your magnetic field starts to expand. You can start to feel more things. You start to be able to sense, they call it kind of being an empath or whatever. You start to be able to feel and sense things around you. You start to be able to kind of like kind of see things before they happen, in a sense. You start to be able to sense, like you start to get like, there start to be a lot of synchronicities in your life. You start to see, like, pay attention to, numbers and colors and symbols, and you might see something that might appear as an omen for you. You might see a certain animal that has a certain characteristic, like Alexander the Great. Maybe he was great, maybe he wasn't, but he would always, use the eagle as like a sign from his father Zeus, right? Because that was the symbol of that deity. And there's a lot of truth to these things. You start paying attention to these things, basically what I'm saying. You literally wake up. You stop thinking that things are coincidental, that anything in your life, anything that you see, whether it be the type of hat that the person walking by you in the grocery store is wearing, you stop seeing that as something coincidental. Okay, that is in some way a reflection of your state of consciousness, because you phased with that frequency, became aware of it. If it is not a reflection of you, it cannot phase with you in that moment. You will simply not be aware, and this is where you can get rid of fear. That's a different thing. Okay, I'm trying to stay focused here. As you expand your frequency, there are these shells or these layers over your. Actually, I might even hold on real quick. All right, there's these shells, and this is literally a shell. I don't know if you can see this, but if you look at this shell, can you see it? You see how there's lines that are running like this, and there's lines that are running parallel, lines that are running perpendicular, and then it ends all back at the one, at yourself. But this can technically go on forever. There is no actual point to this. Like anytime it's like if you take a sword, you can sharpen it one more time. You can sharpen it one more time. You can sharpen it one more time. And if you have the ability, you can make it infinitely sharp. It's like any number, you can divide it again, infinitely. So you never actually approach this place. That's what infinity is. You become more subtle, okay? You start to become aware of more subtle things. And that's what the point of this is that the subtle forces that you were just completely oblivious to, you start to become aware of. So things like spirits, you start to become aware of them because they're more subtle, because they don't exist strictly in the physical world, okay? They're less concentrated. So, but they still exist, and when you start to get closer to the beginning, you start to head back towards the Big Bang. It's like everything is expanding, but you start heading the opposite way, and it's like everybody's still trying to, inhale all these things, but you're just like, you bring everything back together. You start to come in contact with these primal forces that, in a sense, some are more, whatever. It's not to say any of them are your enemy or they're whatever, but they will present challenges. Like, these forces, you could consider them to be as like gatekeepers. They are half angel, half demon. They are, they come as you as an angel, something that teaches you a lesson, right? And then the demon might come right after that to test you and make sure that you got it, right? So they're both actually positive in that sense. They're both actually one. They're both actually the same thing, two sides, same coin. But you actually, to have an experience, you have to have at least two things. You have to have the observer and what's observed. You have to have the creator and what's created. Because if you just have the creator, okay, here's another one. Shell, you see. So basically what these lines are like the vibrations. So if you're like way out here, your orbit is really long and slow. Like you're so far away from the sun that it takes you like maybe like a million years or something. I don't know. Like it's like they say we'll just say the galaxy spins every 26,000 years. So if you're on like the outer rim of the galaxy, your cycle lasts 26,000 years. Maybe I don't want to get into all of it like that, but you get the idea. If you're very far away, chances are that your orbit, your frequency, your cycle is slower. So the rate at which you become aware of things is slower than someone who's very close to the truth, very close to the light, very close to the center. Okay? So, but these are like walls or barriers, okay? As you're like, so if you want to get closer to yourself, you're going to have to go through a gate, okay? That's what these are. This is nature's trying to show you what's up. These are gates, okay? And there's gates all the way there, because these gates, your will is what's important. It's like it's like if you want to dive deep in the ocean, you have to train for that. It's like you got to train your lungs. It's like, obviously they say there's a limit to how far the human can actually go, but as a limitless being, there isn't a limit to how deep or how high you can go. You just have to be conditioned for that, okay? How do you condition yourself? You train, you exercise, right? But it's not just a physical exercise, it's a spiritual and a mental and an emotional. You exercise all these different bodies. In yoga, they say there's 5 different bodies. You exercise all those bodies, okay? None is more important than another. Yeah, and that's the other thing with yoga. Like a lot of people, the yoga, especially in the Western sense, is strictly a physical exercise. They might add some breathing into it, so they might get 2. But it covers, it's complete science, covers your whole life. And okay, so basically the point is, when you start to expand, you start to come in, you start to bump up against these gates, right? When you start to realize your unlimitedness, you start to wake up, you start to see that there are forces that have been operating around you all the time that you are just now becoming aware of. Like, I don't want to point any fingers, but you get the idea. There are certain forces in the world who its best interest is for you to remain with less power, okay? So if you want to reclaim the power, because the power is yours, you are the projector of all things. Everything comes from within. So everything is you, okay? But it's like, if you know you're the sun and you're looking at yourself, but then something comes and places something in front of you and the sun, it's like now that becomes like your God, and you actually have to go and try to recognize, not try, you will recognize, how is this force in between you and yourself? What's its purpose? And because you, at some point along the cycle, you actually set that up. You actually allow that to happen. Because as, the captain of your ship or the king of your kingdom, you don't necessarily go around the kingdom and micromanage every little aspect, right? As a human, you don't actually sit around all day and micromanage all your cell division and all the different things, right? But if you did, maybe it's like if you gain that frequency where you could move so fast that you could do it all at once, you wouldn't have disease, because it's like it would be in your awareness, right? It's like someone who has like some type of disease is dis-ease, is something that's not at ease. You got to be able to become aware and see the reflection in your life. What are you doing in your life that's causing this phenomenon, right? So like they say, even the word cancer is actually cancer. It's actually a serpent, serpent, right? So this serpent, this specific entity, whatever, thrives in acidic environments, right? So it thrives on a lack of knowledge, right? Because if I'm trying to remember, like even the mechanism of that specific disease is to disrupt the code in your cell reproduction just by manipulating one little detail in the code or the instructions or the order from the kingdom, by just kind of like one of the messengers, right? Because there's all these chemical messengers, all these different little messengers. I'm getting way off this video, but all these little different messengers. The angels are the messengers. You have these chemical messengers. All the messengers are within. And if one of these other beings come in and give one of your messengers, give one of your angels, and they look at the order from the kingdom, which is in the DNA, all this, and they say, okay, well, instead of causing the cell to divide like this in balance, we're going to cause it to divide like this, right? So it'll send you a thought like, eat some meat, eat some processed garbage, you know what I'm saying? Do this, do that, right? Don't exercise. No, you don't want to go exercise. No, you don't want to do that. And it'll give you these impulses to do what will support or what will reflect that imbalance within inside your own cell, because your body is a cell, the earth is a cell, everything is a reflection of the same thing. It's all fractal. So by learning this self-defense, by learning all these things, you will be able to overcome the challenges or the obstacles or the resistances that will inevitably show up, because they must show up, because you can't get stronger if you don't lift weights, right? It's like if you don't provide some resistance, you'll never get stronger. And if you want to exist within greater spaces, you must become stronger. You must have a stronger will. You must have a stronger body. You must have a stronger mind. You must have a stronger spirit. It's just the way that it is. So, yeah. So as you expand, you'll start to. It's like like a fish in a bowl. Like you start to be like, man, I need a bigger bowl. So you might jump out of one chakra into the next chakra, but there's going to be a gate there, and this gate is he's going to say, well, can you be courageous? And then another one might say, can you be humble? And the other one say, can you be compassionate? The other one might say, can you give up everything that you own? Like not to say that this is the same for everybody, but it might happen. It's like there's nothing that's solid, right? It's like you might actually have to give up something that you thought was always true. Like whatever, like back in the day, they told you the earth was flat. Maybe the earth is flat, maybe it's not flat. Have you been to the edge? I don't know. They told you it wasn't. I don't know. It could be. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying it is or it's not, but in history, everybody thought the earth was flat, and that if you went far enough, you'd fall off. So, and then they came and told you that, oh no, it's actually a sphere. And they're actually just playing with your consciousness on a massive subconscious scale. You see, even an unconscious scale, like they're playing with your consciousness. So whether it doesn't really matter what the earth is, whether it's flat, whether it's a sphere, whether it's a donut, whatever it is, if they tell you that it's flat, everything, that's how you'll view the world. You'll think it's flat, so everything will register to you that way. If they tell you it's a sphere, everything will register to you that way. So who is actually giving the commands then? This is what you need to ask yourself. Okay. Because if it's not you, you know what I'm saying? Because if you were giving the commands, you'd be able to just go into meditation and see how the earth is, see what the earth looks like. You'd be able to just leave your body, go up there and see, and just look for yourself, and then nobody can tell you anything. You don't need to read it in a book. You don't need some physicist to tell you what he thinks that somebody else told him. You don't need nothing like that. So, like, that's what it is, and that's called being the captain. That's called being, the navigator, okay? Right, okay. So when you expand, you'll activate these dormant shells, right? You'll activate these dormant fields, these dormant gateways, like the portals or the gateways. Like these gateways have been, like you see it in the movies, like the gateway has been dormant for 2,000 years and it's coming back online because there's an alignment with the portal and everything's in alignment, like you see in Thor, right? So you see the movie Thor, all the worlds come into alignment and then things are allowed to pass through for a certain amount of time, right? And then if you're ready, you will pass through and go to the higher world, and then it'll go out of phase. And then it'll just seem like a dream or something, whatever. That person was crazy, whatever. And then it'll just keep it on pushing. And whatever, that person will be crazy for you, but you'll still be where you're at. So you see, like, this is like the whole awakening phenomenon that appears to be happening on the earth with the whole new age thing and all like that. And, whatever. But this is a very personal thing above all else. And once you find that personal place, once you've cycled your energy up and down the ladder a couple times, then you'll be in a position to be able to go and, assist others. But I won't even go into that. Okay. So, man, 33 minutes. Almost maybe I should just stop and make a second one. Maybe I should do that. Yeah, I'll just do that. I'll just make a part one. Well, should I? Should I make a part? Okay. Yeah, I'll just make a part two. I'll make a part two.